Well, my name is Brandon Eldridge. I'm the manager of the Vectra Bank in downtown Colorado Springs. That window right there is on South Tejon. So I'm at the corner of Colorado and Tejon, for those of you who are familiar with downtown. I love the downtown corridor. When I started working down here maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I just realized there's a lot of many cultures throughout our community. I live in the southeast side of town, and then being exposed to downtown is just such a cool experience. And then you flip over to the west side, and there's a whole bunch of cool, eclectic restaurants and business owners there. And you go up north, and it just kind of shows you how diverse and unique Colorado Springs is. And so I love working down here. I'm right next to the courthouse. Lots of great restaurants, and of course I see Frank down at the Perk quite often. I think that's his second office down here. So, but it's a great place to be, and Vectra Bank has been really great to me. I love working here. They've really embraced what it means to be a regional and community bank. Since coming here, they've really let me just hit the ground running, and really move into different categories of the community as much as I really wanted to. And this picture here, this slide kind of talks a little bit about that. So over here on the bottom left, you can see a picture of me with my bicycling helmet. I'm the treasurer for an organization called Kids on Bikes. We promote healthy living through cycling. I am also the president of the Southern Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We try and raise funds to do leadership programs and scholarship for women in our community. That's a picture of me at the golf course drinking a beer. So if you live in Colorado, you have to drink beer. I mean, am I right? And then that's a picture of me at the Rising Stars Award this last year with Colorado Springs Business Journal. And I had the pleasure of being nominated and being a finalist for that ceremony. And I came out to Hulk Hogan's theme music, which is why I have the championship belt. So speaking of winning, you know, that's I'm all about that. And then this is my family. I was an Elvis impersonator at my grandfather's 80th birthday party last summer. And then this is our Super Bowl party we had this year. I'm really, really, really hoping that Cleveland is not as good as the Pittsburgh Steelers made them look, because I would love a repeat to kind of, you know, stick it to all these Bronco fans around here. I got to tell you, being a Kansas City fan, I actually moved here in '98, so I've been here 23 years. And if you know your Broncos well, that was when John Elway was in the middle of his back-to-back himself. And so coming here and being kind of the kid from out of town, it was important to me to kind of distinguish my uniqueness. And so I was rooted in the Chiefs at that time. And for them,
you got 2 minutes, Brandon.
What's that?
You got 2 minutes. Just kidding.
2 minutes? I thought you said
Just
15
kidding.
minutes. All right, fine. Moving on then, guys. Vectra Bank did the PPP funds, which is the payroll protection program, in round 1. We were the 10th largest bank in the country to do PPP. We did over 45,000 loans. That was over $2 million here to Colorado Springs locally. We were like gangbusters around here, guys. We really worked hard to get these funds into our community. We had a lot of great success stories. And through that, we actually acquired a lot of great clients through this. They have rolled out the second round of PPP funds, which is what I'm here to talk about today. So apparently I'll stop talking about myself. Congress just passed another $300 billion to this fund. Our application we expect to be out tomorrow. So there's a few new things about round 2. If you did not get round 1, by the way, you can be eligible for round 1. And there are certain things that are applicable to round 2 that you don't have to worry about. You can still apply for it for first round funds. But basically in the second round, you have to be able to show a 25% hit in one of the quarters for this year. So if you did not take advantage of PPP round 1, you do not have to show this, but if you did, we need to be able to see probably on like a quarterly P&L that year over year, your business was down at least 25%. Restaurants and food industries will actually be able to apply for 3.5 months of payroll. Sole proprietors, independent contractors, and regular businesses can apply for 2.5 months of payroll. You can then spend the next 24 weeks spending that money on your people, on your rent, on other items, so that you can then get that loan forgiven. At the end of your 24 weeks, which we're actually doing forgiveness applications now for the first round, you can actually get that loan forgiven and not have to pay it back. Here's what you need to do. You need to talk with your bank. If your bank is an SBA preferred lender, it's likely they are doing these applications. You need to pull together your quarterly 941s or your annual 940. That's how we base the calculation of the loan itself. If you're a sole proprietor, if you go down here, you're gonna need your Schedule C. We base it off of line number 31. If you are somebody that pays people and you do the 941s, you need to make sure you have a payroll report. If one of your employees makes over $100,000, we actually cap that person at $100,000 to make that calculation. Your SBA approved application will be different based off of the bank. At Vectra, we do an electronic version of that. And then I would recommend having quarterly P&Ls for the last 2 years broken out. Applications will be accepted through March 31st, so there's plenty of time to go through this. $300 billion will probably last the majority of that time. FYI, you are not disqualified if you already have an SBA loan. You do not have to have a personal guarantee on these loans. That is a very unique thing. And there's no collateral asked for in this loan. So it's a really fantastic way to get money into Colorado Springs and into our community and really grow our economy in a time that's really needed. Some resources that I recommend you take. The first one is the uschamber.com. They actually talk about some other programs outside of PPP, the expanded employee retention tax credit, which is effective now. If you guys pay people and you have payrolls, there's a fantastic tax credit out there for you. The EIDL, many of you heard about the disaster relief fund that is out there. That's up to $10,000. They've reopened it so you can get up to that 10 grand as a grant. There's the grant for shuttered venue operators, so that would be venues for actors and sports things and things like that. And then finally, the SBA debt forgiveness. There's a program if you already have an SBA loan. Vectra Bank is a proud sponsor of the Colorado Springs SBDC. Please go to their website. They have amazing, amazing resources, free consultation, low and cheap workshops for you. The Colorado Springs SBDC is the premier resource for small business owners in our community. You can contact me at brandon.eldridge@vectrabank.com. My office number is listed there. You can also text me. I'll take text messages. So 719-287-0459, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there. I also am the president of the BNI Incline Referrals. We meet Thursday mornings from 8:30 to 10. And I would open it up for any questions with my remaining time.
Yeah, you got about 12 minutes. I was just busting your chops about the Kansas City comments.
Gee. Mario, I buzzed through that, man. Holy smokes.
The playoffs.
Oh my
So
God.
hey, Brandon, if you want to
question.
go over anything again, feel free.
Yeah,
You got 12 minutes, man.
Wait a minute.
I did clip through that pretty quickly. I really thought I only had that much time, Mariano. You got
No, I
me.
was just busting your chops, man.
Holy smokes. Okay, I need to take a deep breath, guys. Hang on.
Well, the one thing you mentioned was sole proprietorships are eligible for this, which is unusual. And also the fact that you didn't need those signatures, that was unusual. And I also saw Dylan nodding a lot. So, and Diane asked, is that through March of this year? You said, right, March 31st, you can submit up to that
March
date?
31st of 2021. Yeah. So let me spend just a minute longer here on this page. So this is the requirements to be eligible for the loan. And for a sole proprietor, which I know a lot of folks end up kind of being put into that category, because on your tax returns, you're going to have a Schedule C. And we actually did a lot of independent contractors in the first round. My team in specific, we did 165 PPP loans in the first round. And I would say at least a third of those were independent contractors. So we're talking tattoo artists, hair salon owners, people who don't get traditional payrolls. So if you're a business that you hire independent contractors and you don't pay traditional payrolls, you really need to tell your people about this because they need to apply for their own loan. You cannot apply for a PPP loan when you're paying your people via independent contract work because they're filing their own taxes and paying their own taxes through that own mechanism. Now, if you're paying them in payrolls like a W-2, then yes, you do need to apply for PPP, especially if you didn't apply for the first round. Guys, this is money for our community. It is for Colorado. We really need to take advantage of this. Let's pull as much of this into our community as we can. But if you're a sole proprietor or independent contractor, that's Schedule C. You can still use your 2019 Schedule C to be able to apply for the loan, even if you already did it the first round. And we calculate 2.5 months of that dollar amount on line 31. When you go to get this forgiven, let's say in 6 months, if you are that Schedule C person, what you really need to be able to do is articulate how did your business be impacted by 1 quarter by 25%. That 25% hit is a really important detail because technically you have to have had that to be eligible for this second round of funding. So I recommend, even if you're an independent contractor, get with a CPA or an accountant or somebody that really can do this, or frankly, just pull up a Google search of P&Ls and plug it into an Excel sheet. They're really not that difficult to put together. And if you do that and you can say, okay, this is what 2019 looked like, this is what 2020 looked like, and here's my breakdown, you should be able to have that loan forgiven. You know, it's interesting. Some of the folks I work with, they may end up reporting as good of a year in 2020 as they did in 19. However, Q2 was probably pretty bad for most of those businesses. So that's where a lot of folks are going to be eligible for this. Another really cool thing, if you did take advantage of the loan in the first round, is the forgiveness piece. Most of the faces I'm seeing here would probably not have gotten a loan for more than $150,000. That was reserved for a lot of the bigger businesses, right? So if you got a loan and it was less than 150, the new application is going to come out here probably in about 2 weeks. And this was part of that legislation that was passed. And by the way, if you guys remember Trump saying everybody needs $2,000, not $600, that's what this was passed with that. So if you're wondering where did this come from, how did this money get here, it was part of that money that Trump was talking about with that stimulus package. But anyways, the forgiveness, if you have not started your forgiveness application for the first round, or if you know somebody who got one and has not, make sure they wait a little bit longer. The new application for forgiveness will be a 1-page document and it will not ask for supporting docs. And that is a great thing because a lot of folks that took advantage of it kind of had some heartburn going through the forgiveness piece, and it wasn't as fun as getting the money in the first place, I assure you. So those are a couple major changes. Kind of going back to the actual application itself and where you need to go and what you need to collect. I strongly advise you to get with a business banker or somebody locally that you work with and figure out what are the next steps so I'm ready for that application. We currently at Vectra Bank are taking pre-registrations. If you go to vectrabank.com/cares, we have that all set up and ready to go. There's a ton of resources on there and you can be notified once the application is ready. Obviously you can reach out to me too, and that's fine as well. But ultimately, please talk with your banker and make sure that you guys have a plan so you can apply for this funds and be ready to go. One thing that is pretty particular in the verbiage, if you go to this website, the uschamber.com, I was reading through it, and one thing that's really specific, if you're on the second round of this and you are trying to get more funds, it's very specific to say that you took a 25% hit in revenue from 2019 to 2020. Now, if you'll remember the first round, you were eligible as long as your business was open by February 15th of 2020. And so what I think is going to happen is if you did not have a business in 2019, I think it's going to be very difficult to have eligibility for the second round if you did not have your business in 2019. So that may exclude a lot of folks. So if I hear differently on that, I'll be sure to communicate that to Kyle and VetNet. But as of right now, that's the way it's written. Going to the SBDC, I briefly touched on this. I have a work that I have called Leading Edge. It was designed for nonprofits as being a board member for a couple nonprofits, they've got some really, really great resources. And I assure you guys, it's not a waste of time to at least go to their website, check out what they offer. And if you are in a couple different phases of your business, it could be very beneficial to get that consultation. So if you're in the startup phase, or if you are in a declining phase and you need to circle back and reinvent some of the processes in your business, get a consultation with the SBDC. They offer those for free. So that was kind of a run back here. Now that Mariano told me I had 2 minutes.
Hey, Brandon, I got a question.
Yeah, Tim, go for it.
Yeah, since we're a Vectra client, and we didn't open a business until October of 2020, so my guess is there's at no level, especially the second one, that we can get any involved in any of this, right?
Well, if you did not take advantage of the first round of PPP funds, you can
Right.
still do so. So
Okay.
the criteria to show a 25% hit year over year would not be applicable to you because you did not take advantage
Right.
of the first round. However, it may depend on payrolls and or taxes. So if you did not pay payrolls or payroll taxes specifically, then you would need a Schedule C. So if you're an LLC, maybe a single member LLC, you may have that Schedule C, and then you could use that to apply for the loan.
Yeah, I don't think that's the issue. Should I talk to Stephanie up here, Alfieri?
Yes,
Okay.
Stephanie's going to be doing those loans. They were very active up in Woodland Park as well.
Okay.
So either person, but if you, Tim, had payrolls in
Yes.
2020,
Yep.
then we need to do that. And honestly, come see me, Tim. Don't go
Okay,
see
I'll do
Stephanie.
it. Well, no, that's not a problem. We'll just get hold of you. I'll just text you and you tell us the schedule.
Yep, you got it.
Got it. Thank you.
You bet.
Dylan, did you have something?
Yeah, real quick. Hey, Brandon, what you're saying on the tax roll, why line, would you say 32?
Line 31, yes.
31, let me,
So think of it like this. This is a government loan, and the government only wants to give you this money if you pay taxes on some profit last year. So for your 2019 Schedule C, if it shows a profit on line number 31, then that's how they're determining that eligibility. So you didn't have payrolls, but you did have some profit, and so that's how they're basing the loan off of. So if you took in $1 million in revenue in 2019, but you also took a loss for the year, your line 31 would demonstrate that. In which case, the government says you didn't pay any taxes on that revenue, and so you're not eligible for the loan. And that's why they chose that line.
interesting. Okay.
So many times a independent contractor will have the same thing. They'll feed their 1099 into that Schedule C, and then they'll take expenses. So if you're a hairdresser, you'll get your 1099 from the salon that you work at. You'll then expense out your hair products and your equipment and maybe some travel and all that stuff. And then when it's all said and done, you're only paying taxes on $500 for the year. And that's why they want that line 31. So
Okay, thanks.
you got it.
Brandon, it's Diane. If I could ask a real quick question, please.
Yes.
I had a friend who took PPP and they were surprised by a government requirement to have insurance in the amount of the loan. Do you know if round 2 is having that requirement as well?
We did not take any insurance documents at Vectra Bank. So that would have been a bank specific requirement. When we do SBA lending, that would be the case. This is not a normal SBA loan. And so we did not require that at Vectra Bank. So not sure who was doing that, but bank to bank, they try and do things to prevent fraud. And that may have been one of those layers. So at Vectra, to prevent fraud, we make sure that you have a deposit account. So you need to open a checking or savings account with us in the name of the business that's going to be applying for the loan. And that way we can go through what we call our compliance background checks. So
Thank you.
yeah, you bet.
So Brandon, for real, you've got 1 minute now.
Okay, good.
Get back to your Chiefs.
Man, I did good though, right? I buzzed
Yeah,
through
no,
it,
you were fine, man. So you
Um,
started talking about Kansas City too much.
I know, man. I started dragging at the beginning. I needed to pick me up. That's okay. Guys, I've been a member of VetNet for 2 years now, and this is a great group. I love meeting when we have the restaurant open and we're able to meet in person. This is a great group of folks, and even when I met over at Dylan's place at Dart Wars, and by the way, I've been over there several times with my kids, so thanks for the sore legs. But there's so many resources and networking still going on during the pandemic, and so many ways to connect with folks. And so I'm an advocate for Zoom. I love the efficiency of it. And at Vectra Bank, it's been nice to be able to kind of just slow down and kind of work through this with my clients and take a breather for a little bit. But I can't wait to get back in live meetings and see all you guys in person. But normally when we're not doing PPP loans, Vectra Bank, we do a lot of lending. So I do home equity lines of credit. We do small business lines of credit. So we specialize in lending and small business. We have a lot of great tools and resources to prevent fraud and increase cash flow. So Vectra Bank specializes in that sector. And I think that was indicative of how well we did with PPP. We were the 10th largest bank in the country to produce these loans for our business clients. And I think that speaks volumes for our processes, the people that work here, and our commitment to small business.